My name is Babalwa Makokona. I'm one of the coordinators and founding members of the module Social Consciousness and Sustainable Futures here at Nelson Mandela University. This is a grounding module that was initiated by the students of Mandela after the mass fall movement in South Africa. They wanted to be seen within the curriculum, and also they wanted a module that can speak to their histories.
I am a historian based here at the Nelson Mandela University in the Department of History and Political Studies. I want to explore some of the names and meanings of Nelson Mandela and try to understand the lessons that his names and the naming practices of his people can give us in terms of trying to understand our sociological or social context in South Africa.
What is the story that claims that sex and gender mean one thing for? What is the truth being created? How do we tap into traditional gender flexibilities as articulated by Ami Dume and mobilize them to push against rigid gender binaries? So how do we do the work of telling stories that allow us greater freedoms and possibilities and imaginations, and that don't in fact lock us into these very rigid versions of ourselves that we are not?
We will introduce the students to debates on the history of science, the social context of hard science, and in particular its links to Africa, the continent. You will be encouraged to look at the relationship between science and society. We will be looking at the interactions between science and technology, as well as social, cultural, political, economic, and more importantly, environmental contexts that shapes and are shaped by them.
We want to develop a basic philosophical understanding of the human planet-centered consciousness, and then relate this to the understanding of Nelson Mandela and the very Mandela-ness of our institution, and then understanding the connection between the person, Umtu, and knowledge, understanding the connection between Umtu and technology.
How does government in the broad sense operate? The role of the courts, the role of parliament, the executive. The actual notion of constitutionalism was very much a product of the struggle and a deliberate attempt to embark upon a path that was then going to be the best for the people of South Africa.
We'll focus on a holistic approach to wellness, combining those risk factors of biological factors with the lifestyle choices that students will make and the psychological issues that they may face with the academic pressures further compounds the issues that students may experience.
The global architecture of capitalism and of colonial occupation in all phases isn't new. It's an ongoing phenomena. And what we now call globalization has become a proxy for what other people understand to be a sense of international community. And yet when we understand the architecture of globalization and we just replace globalization and global village with global occupation, global imperialism, it takes on a whole different connotation.
Humanizing pedagogy is not focused on the method. It's not focused on the approach per se, but centers around the shift in thinking. It centers around the paradigm shift that is necessary and required in education. The method brings about the critical consciousness of the students, that the avenue that is co-traveled by student and lecturer leads to self-realization and self-actualization.